I just booked a real unusual gig, and it's nothing I've never done before. In fact, I've done it hundreds of times, but the way it's been booked is different. It's a wedding reception. They have a band coming in from 7:30 to midnight to do all the dance music. I'm coming in from 5:30 to 7:30 to facilitate dinner. On Facebook, I made a post. I've always said dinner is the hardest part. Well, just booked a dinner only gig. There were a lot of people in the comments section who didn't understand why I would say something like dinner was the hardest part, because hey, you just play some music. What's so hard about that? Somebody actually offered up a playlist. Hey, you need help with music? I got a killer dinner playlist you're welcome to. Thank you for that, but that's not why it's hard. Going back to when I first started DJing wedding receptions, it was the late 80s. Dinner music was something that we didn't do very often. We would actually load in during dinner and have a start time at, like, let's say 8 o'clock. That's when the first dance happened. And then we would do like a father-daughter, maybe a wedding party dance. And the rest of the night was party music. Once in a while, somebody would pay for an early setup, and we would set up before dinner, so there wasn't as much commotion. Other times, and it didn't happen a lot, but people would want dinner music. So you'd come in and you'd throw on a Glenn Miller record or David Sanborn or Windham Hill Sampler or whatever, and just play it. That was easy money. Back then, the banquet halls would facilitate things like toasts and speeches and things like that. About 30 years ago, that all changed, where DJs started taking over that role. So in my market, and I understand every market is different, but in my market, if you're a wedding DJ, you're expected to facilitate the dinner stuff. Grand entrances, toasts, speeches, all that stuff, and more. There's a lot of coordination to do with other vendors and such. Just some of the things that I do during dinner. Music is one of the things, and that's what people think of when they think of dinner music. Of course, you're playing it. My objective with dinner music is to put something on that isn't going to put anybody to sleep, but it isn't going to get anyone to dance either. Why? Well, here where I live, the tradition is the first dance with the married couple is the first dance of the night. So there shouldn't be like an hour of random dancing during dinner and then a first dance. It doesn't usually work that way. And the other problem is sometimes the buffet table set up on the dance floor, or maybe there are other tables on the dance floor. We got to make sure the dance floor is clear before it starts. Catering doesn't appreciate it if they've got to try to serve around dancers. But that's just part of the job. And that's a little bitty, tiny part of the job. The big part of the job is timing everything so dinner is served on time and hot. Sometimes these are sit down, sometimes they're buffet, but usually 6 o'clock here in Milwaukee is dinner time at a wedding reception. That's how most halls do it. Occasionally it's 5, but most of the time it is 6 o'clock. I've got to get everybody into the room seated by 6 to be served, or to go to the buffet table. That's when catering brings everything out and it's hot. So there are some logistics that I have to work out. I have to bring the wedding party in for a grand entrance. I have to herd them all up like drunken cats and line them up in order. I have to have their names down. I have 7 couples at this particular event I'm going to be doing, by the way. I got to get their names right, okay? Now, I'm going to bring them into a room, sometimes to like one song. Sometimes they'll pick like a song for the whole wedding party to come into. It's something like Black Eyed Peas, I've Got a Feeling, or AC/DC Thunderstruck, or whatever. That happens a lot. Other times, the wedding party comes into one song, and then the bride and groom come into a completely different song. I did that, last week. once in a while, you've got a client who wants you to play a different song for every couple that's coming into the room. I'll tell you right now, as a one-handed DJ who's trying to read a script, make announcements, and change tunes, that is difficult. I don't like doing that. Done it before, don't like doing it. And there's a lot you can mess up with that. But there's more. See, some markets do the cake later in the evening. They'll have this cake cutting thing, maybe an hour into dancing, and then people will just eat cake and then get back to dancing later. In my market, the cake is dessert. So it has to be ready to serve. Catering prepares it for dessert when dinner's over. So when I bring the wedding party into the room, usually what I'll end up doing is sending the married folks to the cake to cut it. Photographer's got to be there, all that stuff. Then catering can take that cake and prepare it to be served for dessert. And I know sometimes there's a situation where, oh, we don't have a cake we're going to cut up to serve. We have cupcakes or a sheet cake in the back, and that's just a little prop cake. In which case, we can do something a little different. But if this wedding cake is indeed something that we're going to eat for dessert, it's got to be ready to serve by the time dinner's over. Sometimes there's a prayer. Not always, but sometimes there is. And if they want a prayer, you can usually estimate how long a prayer is going to be. It's like a minute or so. Usually less than that. It's not a big deal. But the toasts and speeches, on the other hand, they can get a little out of hand sometimes. Because you never know how long anyone's going to go. Oh, yeah, some people will tell you, oh, my toast is 3 minutes, short and sweet. They go 10 minutes. It's probably not that big of a deal unless you're trying to rigidly time something to happen at 6 o'clock. And you've got 4 other people who are going to be doing toasts and speeches. And if they go along too, you can really back up the dinner service like a half an hour or more. And then sometimes there's the situation where, okay, my daddy's not going to give a speech. And last minute, dad wants to give a speech. And he goes on for 15 minutes. How do you combat this? Well, the way I have found works really well, instead of allocating like a half an hour for toasts and speeches, and it either goes over a half an hour or goes grossly under a half an hour where we've got this dead space, what I do is I try to hold all toasts and speeches for after everyone has food in front of them, be it a salad or an entree or something. Once everyone has food in front of them, I don't care how long the toasts and speeches go. I don't care how many people talk. It doesn't have any relevance as to when dinner is served. These are all logistics you have to work out and time right. You know, speaking of toasts and speeches, you've got to teach people how to hold the mic to their mouths. Otherwise, they drift and nobody can hear them. And they're looking at you like, something's wrong with the mic. Turn it up. The whole audience is looking at you. Turn the mic up. I actually go to each individual during dinner while they're eating who's going to be giving a toast and speech. And I'll say, look, I know you already know how to do this, but just bear with me. Make sure you hold this up to your mouth when you talk. Here, let me show you. I'll turn the mic on, and I'll actually, when all music's playing in the background, test 1, 2, so you can hear that pretty good, right? I say, you can't hear this, can you? I'm like, no. It's like, yes, you got to have it to your mouth. I've been doing that for a while now, and it works really well. I'll go to the bridesmaid. I'll go to or the maid of honor, rather, the best man, and anyone else who I know is going to be speaking, and make sure they see this, and I've at least told them this. Now, if they don't do it, that's on them. But at least I've done what I can to make sure the mic is where it's supposed to be. And they usually do pretty good with it. But it's mic teching. It's part of the job. So yeah, there's a lot involved with this. It's not just playing background music for dinner. There's a lot of stuff to facilitate. There's a lot of stuff to time. There's a lot of people to manage. There's a lot of teching to do. For me, getting people to dance has always been the easy part. I'm good at that. I'm really good at that. That's why I'm a DJ. But this dinner stuff, you're working with amateurs who have never done anything like this before. Maybe they've never given a speech or held a microphone or had to do much of anything. I mean, a lot of people have stage fright. They got to come into a room. You want to make it look good, and you want to make it look easy too. You don't want anyone in the audience to realize that you have planned this so rigidly. You want to make it look smooth and simple. And the only way to do that is to know what you're doing. And that's how they do it here. And that's what I'm expected to do. And that's what I'm going to be doing at this event. The hard part. Impossible? No. Can I do it? Absolutely. Done it hundreds of times. But it is the hardest part of what I do. That's it, guys. I hope you guys understood this. I know some people watch this video and they'll get it. Other people still won't understand because that's not how they do it in their market. Every market's different. I hope I explained this in a way that most of you can understand it. If you get it, let me know. If you don't get it, let me know in the comment section. I'd appreciate a like if you like the video. That's it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Practice and enjoy.